has grown significantly during the year. So Shahid is our growth mechanism. It's currently losing money, but this year, last year, 23, it's losing a lot less. So in 22, its net income margin was negative 70%, so net loss margin negative 70%. In 23, that had dropped to negative 33%, so a big growth, and that set Shahid on track for breaking even within the 5 years that we've told the market. And that change clearly has a big impact on the overall group margin. And then more generally, last year has been, a lot of the focus has been around making sure that we get a good margin on all the content that we either acquire or produce. So that's about controlling the cost of the content and then making sure that we get or optimize revenues across all the different platforms that we have. And one of NBC's strength is that we have the subscription video on demand, the advertising video on demand, and the TV. And when we can get content and user across each of those platforms, then we can start improving the margins. And we're starting to see that happen as we get more disciplined about commissioning and using content.
Of course, also one source, major source of revenue is the advertising spending. So can you please describe for us the advertising landscape in 2023? How much increase in revenue did that translate, especially for MMS, which is the unit that is responsible for advertising revenue under NBC in 2023?
Sure. So there's various things happening with advertising last year. One of the interesting stories was on the advertising on Shahid, which grew by 2.5 times in 2023. We changed our strategy from the previous year. In previous years, we'd been focusing strongly on growing subscriptions. In 23, we used some of the content to actually grow the users on the free part of the platform. And we grew the number of active users on the free part of the advertising part of the platform by 25%. And that resulted in being able to grow advertising 2.5 times. Equally, MMS, as you mentioned, is our advertising company. It's still reasonably new, and last year has been developing capability in terms of brand integration. We've expanded the number of agents we've got across different geographies, and we've got this digital team now who was responsible for growing AVOD. And then I think the other part of the advertising story in 2023 was really about what happened in Gaza. That had an impact on media across the region, and there was clearly a hit on advertising as well, which we had advised investors at the time, and so we saw that impact on Q4. I think what we've done is built resilience and are now gearing up so that as the impact comes down, we will be in a position to grow advertising again in 2024.
Let's go back to the positive spots. Looking into 2024, Ramadan represents an annual peak for Shahid, especially a driver for new content generation. Could you outline the strategies to sustain momentum after reaching 4 million subscribers at Shahid, and how could that potentially be reflected into profitability going forward?
Sure. So Shahid is a source of strength. We were up 40% on last year in terms of subscribers, so we hit the 4 million figure, as you've seen, and AVOD is up by 2.5 times. In terms of how we keep on growing that, and I think Shahid will absolutely continue. We are in our early days, and we expect that growth to continue. A lot of that will come from our content slate. In 2024, you've seen shows like Sنوات and Nassim, which are targeting a new and younger demographic. So we're getting better at understanding which kind of content targets which segments. And by using that better targeted content, we will be able to grow penetration in new segments and keep that growth in subscriptions going. And as I've said before, the advertising on the free version is growing very strongly, and that will continue as well.
Let us talk about production capabilities. Ramadan represents an annual peak, as we said, for Shahid. What percentage of the studio's total production capacity is utilized right now? And are there any plans to increase studio facilities and production capabilities?
Well, all of our production people are extremely busy. And the strategy at the moment is to increase capacity, particularly in the Kingdom. So in Q4 23, we finished phase 1 of our development at Nargis. We're developing a production complex at Nargis in the Nargis area of Riyadh, where we will have 3 large film studios, 5 TV studios, post-production facilities and offices and space for a lot more people. That will, I think, radically increase our capacity in the Kingdom, which is useful because we have a big slate of content which we intend to produce in the Kingdom from 24 onwards.
Let us finish the interview with a forward-looking note. Are there any potential areas where you think can be the highlights going forward and drivers of growth in terms of financials, the growth in revenues and growth in profitability?
Shahid will continue to grow, and that will change our profitability in a positive sense each year. We projected that Shahid will break even within 5 years. We're still strongly behind that prediction, and you'll see that happen in 24 and onwards. We've seen resilience in the advertising business, and we'll see growth in 24 and TV advertising. And then other things that the group is doing, the Joy Awards. We produced the Joy Awards in 22, in 23 and 24. It's a massive event in the Middle East, and we've done that extremely well. We have launched Al Thaqafiyya last year. It's a cultural channel on behalf of the Ministry of Culture. And we've also launched fast channels on Shahid. Each of these areas combining to this diversified conglomerate that we've got. So NBC is extremely busy, and we're very positive that the forecast of profit growth will continue in 24.